Hi, and welcome. My name is Maurice, and I run a website called latentlifestyle.com. And here is today's Evernote tutorial, terminology. Let's start with our first one. From the very front of the page, we already have our first word, and that word happens to be Workspace. So let's understand what Workspace is. Workspace is pretty much where we're going to be storing all our information. It's where we're going to find our information, where we're going to retrieve our information. So whether it be notes, whether it be an audible recording, whether it be a file, that is going to be our workspace. If we look at this page, I've logged in, and this is my workspace. This is where we're going to see all our notes. We're going to see all the options that we have in order to navigate around Evernote. This is going to show me the headers of what Evernote is. I can change this view, but we'll get into that in later tutorials. All we want to know is this is our workspace. One word that's going to keep coming up over and over again as you navigate around is the word sync. And this is really going to happen every time you connect to the internet. So if you're sitting connected to the internet right now, you're probably not even noticing that Evernote is syncing in the background. If you have the app on your laptop and you're not connected to the internet, sync will continue as soon as you're reconnected again. And the whole idea here is that Evernote wants to keep your data synchronized across a whole load of platforms. So what it's doing is it takes whatever note you're working on and it uploads directly to Evernote Web, whereby you can then access it from whatever kind of device you are using at that moment in time. The next word you're going to see a few times is the word capture. And this really has two meanings. The first one is just to write down a whole lot of text. So we can capture thoughts, so we can capture ideas, or we can capture the feeling of a place. But we can also use the word capture for capturing or photographing or scanning information within Evernote. You can capture a file, you can capture a conversation. Really, we're collecting information into one place. The one word which is probably most used throughout Evernote is the word note. Evernote explains this as any piece of information you want to save for later. Well, our note is really where we're going to be saving our information to. We created 2 notes in the last tutorial, and we're going to create some more notes in the next one. But the note really is the foundation of Evernote. Each note that we make is going to have a heading. It's going to have a piece of information in it that we want to retrieve later on so that we can remember it. Whether it be a file, document, maybe it's a picture, maybe it's just an email that you forwarded straight into Evernote. This becomes our note. This becomes the single individual piece within Evernote. And we'll have 1, we could have 20, could have 2,000. They generally look like this. Our notes are normally always shown on the right hand side. And this is where our note is here. On the left is where our note headings are, and on the far side again is where we get to choose. But we can get to see what is active in the note that we're looking at currently. Over here is our note headings. Our note headings show really what the note is that we're looking at. So you can see there's a grey box around that particular note, and on the right hand side the note details are shown to us. If we want to find all the notes that we've made so far, we can go down to this little wee icon that looks like a single piece of paper with some lines on it. This here is where we'll find all our notes, and it will just list them all the way down from the latest note that we've made right down to the oldest note that we've made. Notebooks have been always something I've found a little bit difficult to explain to people, because notebooks really are files, the same way that you put stuff into files within a cabinet, or you put stuff into files within your hard drive, or you put stuff into files on your shelf. This is really what a notebook is. So don't be too confused by the idea of a notebook being something that you have to write in. Really, a notebook within Evernote is an explanation of all the notes relating to a particular topic or subject, or maybe you're working on a particular business proposal, or maybe you're working just on the latest insurance for your house. It's about where you're placing everything into one spot. Some people like using notebooks to organize all their work. It's not necessary. You don't need to be forced into using notebooks, but I just would like to explain it. I will be talking about notebooks and how we can move notes between them later on within the tutorials. So watch out for that. You're going to find these notebooks over here On the left hand side, it's a little wee icon and looks like a little wee book, hence notebook. And at the very top, you'll actually see it says first notebook. From the original recording that we did earlier on, I've not made any new notebooks. So this is the original notebook, the original folder that all my notes are being saved to at the moment. It's really just a container. I can change this at any time, and as I said, we'll discuss this in a further tutorial later on. The next thing I'd like to talk about is something called a tag. Some people use tags and they prefer tags rather than using notebooks. Here's really words so you can find your note quickly again. You can find that piece of information. These are also containers, but you can have multiple tags for each individual note. So looking again at our screen, here we have something which says new tag at the very top. I've not tagged this note as I intend to do this later on. If I look to the left, there is something that looks like a little wee tag sticker that you might stick on a luggage bag. Well, these tags, we can have multiple of them and we can make them all into categories. Again, we'll talk about this in a further tutorial. Shortcuts. Well, shortcuts are a way that we can favorite certain notes, a notebook or a tag, and we can get access this really quickly. We don't need to go and search for anything. So perhaps it's to do with all insurances. You have a notebook called insurance, and you have your car insurance, your house insurance, your contents insurance, whatever it might be, all in that one notebook. Instead of each time going into search or having to scroll through a whole lot of notebooks for each one of these, you can stick it into your shortcuts folder. The shortcuts folder you can find here on the left. It looks like a little wee star, and to make a note, a favorite, or something that you want to stick into shortcuts, you just click the little wee star at the top and it'll go straight into that. We also have something called Work Chat. A lot of people have discussed whether or not this is going to be a useful feature within Evernote. I think it's kind of useful if you're working with Evernote on a day-to-day basis. It means you don't have to come out to go into some different type of social media to go and speak to somebody else. The person that you're talking to doesn't need to be part of Evernote. They will receive an email and they can get the information that you're sharing with them. You can share your note or you can just have a wee chat with them saying that you're working on it. So this is open to anybody. You're going to find that with a little wee square that has a little wee arrow. A reminder. The reminders come in quite handy when you're wanting to make a note to say you have to visit the doctor in a week's time. Or perhaps you've just been to the dentist and you want to make your 6th monthly appointment and you need to make a reminder for that to appear later on. It means you don't need to stick anything into your calendar. Evernote will remind you when the day comes. You can set it by year, month, day, and time. You'll find that by the thing that looks like a little bit of an alarm clock right at the very top. When you click that on any particular note, you'll be offered a number of options on where you want to set the date and time, and Evernote will remind you when that date and time arrives. Notifications are triggered once you begin to put reminders within Evernote. Those notifications then are flagged to you. Search. You'll see this word coming up quite a bit. Search is really what Evernote is very useful for. It searches your notes, searches your notebooks, searches your tags, even has advanced searches where it can search through PDFs, Word documents, keynote speeches. Whatever you're putting into Evernote, Evernote can search for it. It becomes very, very powerful. If you're looking for something, you can search by clicking on the little wee search button, and it will go and look through all your titles, through all your notes, through all your tags, through all your notebooks, until it finds all the relevant documents that relate to the key terms that you've put in. Shall we test your knowledge? Do you know what all these terms mean? You've got about 3 seconds on each word, so let's see how you do. How did you get on? Thanks for joining us today. Watch out for the next tutorial. That will be one on how we start making notes and filling up Evernote. Thanks, and have a great day. Cheers.